Hi, I'm Toby Lapinski for the New England edition of the Fisherman Magazine with this week's web fishing report. I'm going to start things off by reminding you once again that if you haven't already signed up for our Public Fishing Reports forum, now's a great time to do so as we're running a promotion through the next several weeks into July, where each week we will choose the most informative and detailed report from the previous week's posts and award the poster with great prizes from the likes of Spro, Aquatic AV, CustomFilletTables.com, and WileyX. We already began giving the prizes away last week, so check out fisherman.com, this week's printed issue, or our Facebook page for more details as well as announcements of this week's winner. So I began the surf report for the week this year, and just about everyone that I spoke to mentioned tons and tons of bait being present in their respective locations. You know, from Connecticut, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, everyone I talked to said there's just a ton of bait around. They're seeing bunker, mackerel, herring, squid, just about everything you could possibly find in the spring. The only problem is, I haven't really had any big striped bass that have located them yet. Lots of schoolies. Bluefish are just starting to filter in, so really when the fish get up here, things should just break wide open in the surf. So I'm quite excited. Hopefully it'll begin this coming week. Let's see, starting off with Connecticut. Fluke season opened this Saturday, and the fishing was expectedly slow inside Long Island Sound. However, most of the better catches that were reported were from guys that headed over to the Long Island, to the New York side of the Sound. Again, nothing huge, lots of maybe 4 or 5, occasional 6-pounder reported. Bobby J's down in Milford got good word of a weak fish bite that started in the Milford through West Haven sandbar stretch. You know, this is a great spring fishery. Last couple of years have been kind of slow, but so far things are off to a pretty good start with a lot of fish to about 8 pounds being caught. You can get in on this action. Anglers throw, a lot of times some of the bigger fish will come to likes of, fresh chunk bunker. However, plugs are just as effective at times. And now some of the bigger fish that I've heard of over the years have been caught on the Yozuri mag darters. It's an excellent bait to work for the weak fish this time of year, so give it a shot. Continuing with Connecticut, all the party boats that we talked to have really gotten going this past week, including the Blackhawk, the MyJoy, Sunbeam Fleet, and the Hellcat. They all got out, found some pretty good blue fishing, again on the New York side of Long Island Sound. And when they got out and did some of the porgy trips, they did really well also, so that's good news. So if you want to check out exactly when they're sailing and what they're targeting right now, check out either the printed reports or the websites for complete details. Over in Rhode Island, schoolie bass continue filling in more and more across South County on and up into Narragansett. Fish are in the breachways, the ponds, along the beaches, but again, it's still mostly small fish with the occasional keeper being caught. I talked to Robin at Quanti Bait and Tackle, and she said there's a ton of squid inside Quanti Pond. So much so that guys are getting them not only by boat at night when they head out with the lights on the boats, but they're getting them from shore casting in the breachway. So there's a lot of squid around, plenty of bait. Again, if the fish just find them, it's going to be on. Talking to the 7Bs as well as the Francis Fleet, they continue to sail for Fluke, heading over to Block Island generally. They much better this past week. Again, each week has been progressively better. A lot of 3 to 4 pound fish with a lot of those pool fish topping around in that 7-pound range. There's nothing wrong with that this time of the year. Again, there's a ton of bait, so really should go wide open. We just got a couple more degrees of warming, which should really start any day now. Checked in with Galilee Bait and Tackle once again, and they say that in addition to improvements both on fluke and blackfish locally, striped bass are starting to get a little bit bigger along the beaches as well as inside the pond of Galilee. They also want to pass along word the state boat ramp, which was expected to be ready and good to go this coming weekend, might not quite be ready for the holiday. So if you're planning on driving in long distance and using the boat ramp, give the shop a call at 401-783-1719 and they'll let you know what the status is. We'd hate to have you drive all the way down there and be unable to launch your boat. Let's see, up in Massachusetts, the 5th annual Zobo Flounder Tournament, hosted by Pete Santini of Fishin' Fanatics, took place this past weekend. And top honors went to Jim Kujas with a 3.39 pound winter flounder. That's a nice fish. And our good friends Little Sister Charters followed up with 2nd and 3rd place spots with fish weighing 3.35 and 2.91 pounds. Well, some great fish, and action was excellent all across that area from everyone I spoke to as well as our reporting stations up there. Speaking of the Fishin' Fanatics, they not only have the Zobo Challenge every spring, but they also run the the Striper Shootout. It's the 16th annual event. It'll be held on June 13th and 14th. So check out www.stripershootout.com for more information, and we'll give you a heads up as we approach that date. Let's see, talk to CMS Tackle, and they report some excellent scup and sea bass fishing this has been going on, with sea bass opening in Massachusetts over the weekend. Some very, very big scup have been caught, and I actually saw photos of a 3.91 pound scup landed on Saturday. That's quite the fish. Hopefully they were in the Dreamboat competition, but we'll see. Westport Marine weighed in an 11.8 pound blackfish over the weekend, and they indicate that black fishing has been getting much, much better in and around the river, so give that a shot if you want to get on some spring tog. Canal, as I reported earlier, there's tons of bait around, and the canal is no exception. There's tons of bait from one end to the other, but unfortunately it's still mostly the sublegal bass, the occasional slightly better fish, but all those reporting stations in the area that we speak to, they've yet to get a legitimate keeper caught inside the canal. There have been some outside of it, but as far as inside the canal, it's still all just barely sublegal fish. But again, any day now it's going to tear wide open with the moon coming up. That's my guess. We're going to have the big push of fish come in then. Out at Martha's Vineyard, Dick's Tackle reports that the sea bass bite is off to a fantastic start. Again, that opened up this past Saturday. And Larry's Tackle reports some small bass pretty much all around the island, with blues to the low teens being caught. Pounds, not inches. So that's a good bluefish, and likely sparked by all the squid that they're seeing in and around the island. Let's see, up at Blackbeard's Bait and Tackle on the Outer Cape, they had their first keeper bass brought into the shop for the year. A 35-incher landed by angler Trevor Moss, and he caught it on a chunk bait fished on the Cape Cod Bay side of the Cape. So congrats there, that's a nice fish. Lastly, an interesting note, Big Mac Charters hauled in a 60-pound halibut last week. That's the first such catch of the season that I'm aware of. Congrats to both angler and captain. So as always, I'm Toby Lapinski for the New England edition of the Fisherman Magazine, wishing you tight lines on the water.